Right. This is Saturday, so recording our thoughts. Um, let's have a look at the usual. We start with a Dixie, start at the monthly picture so we get a better view what's going on. So we've broken the bottoms. I mean, we've closed below here. So I think we can expect some more downside on the dollar at the very least, one more. So I would expect one last zip to the downside, maybe back to somewhere here around the 96, 95, 96 zone before we get a proper bounce to the upside. So you can see I've drawn this here, zip, then go up. So if we bring it to the weekly chart, it's the same picture, come back down and then go up. So that's what we see on the dollar. So into next week, I would expect a pullback. Go on 4 hours, it's already happening. It's already started. So we would likely continue to kind of roll over. It came right into the box of interest that we drew last week. So I'm gonna just move this box down here into somewhere around here. So for next week, let's move it. Let's move it down to around the 96 zone, somewhere there. For next week, okay, so that's the dollar. Let's look at the Nasdaq. So Nasdaq, let's get rid of this. We don't need it. On the weekly chart, let's have a look at the weekly. So we've had a very bullish weekly. So next week likely will go up. We'll go up next week, but after a small pullback. So I'd expect a small pullback before we continue to go up, which would be like if we bring it somewhere, I think maximum somewhere there, which would be about 2116. We could get 50% up to these tops here. So up to here, which would be about 2959. So I think we'll bring our area of interest up here first for the pullback. Gets us between here and there. And then let's just move this somewhere there, I think is where price will pull back and will go higher because if you look at the monthly chart, the monthly is very bullish as well, very bullish so far. I mean, the month is not ended, but it's looking really, really strong. And if you go to a yearly view, we can see what's happening. We're gonna go way higher. So that's good. So that's the Nasdaq. And if I go on 4 hours, for example, and have a look, what you see is it's beginning already. So you have a double top here, 21455, 21437, 21427. So these tops are tops. And I expect this to come out in somewhere here. I'll say there, between there and there is where we'll come, and then we'll go 4 cent again. So that's the Nasdaq. Let's quickly move on to the XPX. The XPX is very similar to the Nasdaq for me. Again, if we go on the weekly chart, we can see we've got a very strong bullish candle. We'll go up higher next week, but I'd expect a good pullback first before we go up. But I would be expecting higher prices now. If we pull back, and we pull back below this line, if we go below this line, then you come in to close this gap. If we don't go below this line, then we're going higher first, way higher. This gap will be there for a while. So if we go into 4 hours, for example, you can see we have a stopping candle there, a stop. So I'd expect this to roll over and come back to the lower Bollinger or KC channel, which is this one here. And so you could decide to draw an area of interest. Area of interest box could be drawn somewhere from here to there for next week. And that's it. Now let's look at the next pair. Excuse me, gold. Okay. Taking a bit of water. Right. Okay. So the weekly chart. So we closed the weekly chart. Red, red, red. So I'd expect some more blood on the street next week. Even if we go up, I expect blood on the street first. We could go up first. So, we could go up first to, this was a target area for me last week. So I probably move it to here, change the name of it, and change it to uh, short target. So we're going to open some shorts at this point, at this price point. I think it will probably push back up here and then continue the leg down. So if we go to like 4 hours and go and look at a 4 hour chart, you can see where my alert is pretty good. Um, so right, so you can see where my line is, where my entry point for my short would likely be here. And I think I'll probably put one here and I'll put one somewhere there. So if we do again our area of interest box, it will be somewhere here for a short, right? And I'd expect more downside on gold. We haven't finished correcting yet. We've just literally broken below the pivot for this move. So yeah, there is more downside. There'll be another one first before another one like this. So we got this loop. There'll be another loop before we can start going up properly on gold. So ultimate target for gold for me will be sitting on the 12-hour chart. I think it's sitting here. So somewhere here will be, again, we can put another box there between here and there will be my kind of zone for profit on that short. Yeah, so that's gold. The VIX, let's look at the VIX. So the VIX, I think the VIX will likely bounce a little bit but it will go down some more. So if we look at for example, the weekly chart, it's still red, so I expect more downside. And we've closed below the 200 moving average, the 50 and the 200 moving averages for the EMA and the MA and the 800 as well. So I definitely will expect us to go down some more, but we could have a retest. So we could have a retest here, and so we could put an interest box somewhere there. So you could have a retest of it before it continues going down. I think it will come back down all the way back to this point here, likely. So if we do here, right here, so this area here, the area there could be an area that gold will likely come and visit. Sorry, gold. The VIX revisits that, and then maybe you'll get a stronger move, or even down here. So they get a triple bottom, pop, pop, and then you get another one there. At that point, you may get quite a good bounce to come and test the 200, but I do expect more downside on the VIX in the coming week rather than to the upside. Even if you go on the daily chart, there's more downside. There's no proper divergence yet for this to, yeah. So it's going to go down some more. We may get a small bounce, but a little bit more. And we closed also outside the KC channel, which means there's more downside on this. There'll be a few more days, 3 or 4 days down on the VIX. Although you may get a small bounce, like I'm saying, we may get a small bounce here. But even that one, it's very, very at the moment, you know, it's possible, but very low probability that you get a bounce. But we could get a bounce, and we could even come all the way here and close this gap. So I'll leave this there for potential bounce up to close the gap and then continue down. So that's the VIX. BTC dominance. Let's look at what is happening on BTC dominance. So weekly chart. So the week is not ended, but we're getting a very strong candle on dominance. We had a red candle there. We've gone lower, and I think there's more downside on it. Even if we come up, maybe we'll come back and test somewhere here. So if I just move this, delete this, and use area of interest rather than lines, then we'll draw an area of interest. Actually, I could use this, couldn't I? We'll draw an area of interest here where I think it will be somewhere there. So you could get something like that area, the zone. I wouldn't expect this to go above it, so I would put it here and we'll make it smaller. So you could get something like that before we come down again, before we come down, because once we've come back into the middle of the band, this is the middle of the band, we try to go up, and I think next week we'll roll over. I think it'll be something similar to how this picture played out, where you get your red candle. I mean, this one, okay, we went down before, but trying to find one that will be similar or make sense. It could be like this as well. We could just do a swipe like that and go higher first before we collapse. But on balance, because we got a stopping candle there, I don't think the stopping candle gets exceeded. I think we go slightly lower and come down. If I go to 4 hours and see what's going on 4 hours, it might give me a bit more of an insight. So we're facing some resistance here at the 50. I think it's the 50 MA. I think it's the 50 EMA. So we're facing some resistance here. I think we could potentially push it up to this point here and probably then get rejected at this point here. So, or it could be that we actually stall here. Depends on how the next 4 hour candle close, but it's looking like we'll do one last push first before and create a divergence before we kind of collapse and go down some more. So I'd expect it to test this point here and then go down. So dominance may rise a little bit before before you get some more movement to the downside. Let me look at total three. So total three is let's look at the daily and the weekly. So the weekly chart, we've gone up and we seem to be forming a stopping candle. I don't think this is the end of it. I think potentially we may come down to test this point here, the 832 billion. So again, we'll draw an area of interest somewhere there. Somewhere there. I don't want it to break through this because if we do, then I think we're coming all the way down to this point here. So it will be, yeah. But if we break that, then you'll be looking at here. This point will be our, excuse me, that will be our area of interest. So this is our initial area of interest. I don't think we come here, but we need to keep it in mind in case. I think we'll stop at that point somewhere here. It could even come all the way down to somewhere there. We could stop here. But if we don't, then you'll be looking at this point here. So a little bit more downside, maybe today into tomorrow. And then next week, I leave it next week, we'll go down a little bit more, and then we'll be kind of rocketing to the other side. Okay, so let's move on to Bitcoin itself and look at the CME chart. So if you look at the CME chart and the weekly chart, there's some kind of weakness on your chart, but it's still a positive chart. I think they are primed to go up. They came to 101.060. I don't think we will go below that. I think next week, I think what will happen with the Binance chart is it will come down to that level, 101.060, and then excuse me, next week will all go up. So if you look at the daily, that's bullish consolidation right there for you. Bullish consolidation, yeah. So I'd expect more upside. I mean, worst case scenario, maybe we come and test the lower parts of it again, around the 101, that zone, we test it slightly. If we break this point here, then more chances are we will be coming down to here, this 96K. So, 96K, close a gap. There's a gap here. Close that gap. I don't think we'll come all the way down here. Very unlikely. But we have to keep in mind that potentially we could come all the way to 91,000, and that's still going to be okay. We're still going to go up after that. But there's more upside. I mean, if you look at the monthly chart, it tells you there's more upside. Even if you come back to these tops, it won't be a good look. But yeah, certainly you don't really want to be closing here below these points. I mean, initial points is this point here, which is around the 1019 area zone, but you don't really want to be closing below here, which is 98,000. So I'm gonna put I'll put an area of interest in there and say, that's it. So we don't really want to be below this point. If we go below this point, then potentially there's more downside. So that's our area of interest. And if I bring it to the daily chart, we can see where it's sitting at. There we go. So it's sitting here, and oh, I might have to make this go back to the monthly and do it again. Yeah, that's still correct. Yeah, still correct. So that's the sort of area we want to be in. We don't want to go below that. But I think we'll go up some more. There's more upside, plenty of it left on this chart. If we also look at the another thing I want to show you here is the daily chart. If you look at the daily, we've kind of still chopping inside now. We are inside the KC channel, which means, probability wise, maybe there's a pullback down, because we're not outside the KC channel, and on 4 hours we're starting to have some weakness. So it's possible we come down into that zone before we go up. Very, very likely it's possible. But I wouldn't be using it as it's over. It's not going to go up anymore. This is going to go higher. And then if we go on to the actual Bitcoin chart itself, from Binance, we're just going to follow our plan, the plan that we drew last week. And you can see we're still in the box. We're having a bit of a pullback in the box, which is okay. And like I said, I don't want to see price go below here. So that wouldn't be good. I wouldn't want to see that. Even here it's still fine. 95K is still okay. But I wouldn't definitely want price to go below the 95K mark. And then we'll be going up, and we'll be going up really, really high. So I won't be too worried about a small pullback of about 5% or so. I mean, if you pull back from here to 95K, 95, it's about 5 or 6%. Yeah, so 5 or 6%. It's not really a trade worth taking. You might as well wait and buy and go long. And I think that's all there is. And we'll do some altcoins and stuff tomorrow. But that's all I've got in terms of this particular review this Saturday.